Good afternoon, Facebook. This is Dr. Sharita Weatherspoon, and I am here with you this afternoon once again to share with you and introduce you to another one of the phenomenal women authors in the Love Letters to My Girls, 100 Black Women Speak to the Hearts of Black Women and Girls Anthology Project. But we are here today with Veronica Clark, and she is an intimacy and empowerment coach. And we will be hearing from her, just given what I know about what she does and, who I was connected to her through. I know that she is a powerhouse woman. So I'm expecting to hear some jewels drop today from Miss Veronica. But before we jump into that, let me just take a moment to remind you about the Love Letters to My Girls Anthology Project. We are bringing together, 100 beautiful, powerful, intelligent, brilliant Black women from around the world to write these letters of love to our sisters, to uplift, inspire, motivate, and empower them to be who they are authentically, to show up in the world, to show out in the world, and to let the world know that we are here, we are staking our claim, we are taking everything that belongs to us, and you better watch out because we built the world, right?
Yes.
yes. So this project is going to be phenomenal. So yes, we are publishing the book, but this is much more than a book. It really is a movement, and we want you to join us on this movement and in this mission to empower Black women and girls around the world. We have to show up for each other because no one else is doing it for us, but hopefully we will get, supporters outside of, the project that this is geared towards. So, we want our brothers to support us. We want other women from, other ethnicities and backgrounds to support us, because we're all in this together, right? But what we have said is that we're taking a stand for our sisters right now. And I am excited to say that we have surpassed the 100. So we will have more than 100 women writing letters in this book. And I am so excited about that. To learn more about the project, you can visit loveletterstomygirls.com. Sign up for our newsletter. We'll send periodic updates about the status of the project and what we're doing, getting your feedback on some of the things that we're doing, and giving you opportunities to support us through helping pay for donations of the book to organizations that serve Black women and girls, and helping fund our scholarship fund as well. So there'll be many opportunities for you to participate, even if you can't write in the book. So we're looking for that support from you, and we're saying thank you now for the support that you're going to give us. So now to Miss Veronica.
Yes. I'm so excited to be a part of this.
Yes.
This is huge.
It is. And I think it's bigger than what any of us actually think it is right now.
I got chills right now.
It's going to happen.
I just got chills. Yeah, it is. Because when you set an intention to reach young women, to be able to help, to uplift them, and to inspire them to move beyond whatever their current circumstances are, or whatever it is that they've gone through in their lives, I mean, that creates a ripple effect that impacts everybody that they will ever come into contact with. This is huge.
Yes.
And yeah, I love that you said that this is a movement, because that's exactly how I felt. And that's the reason why I decided to get involved with this. When my sister, Angelita Bird, just introduced us. So it's powerful. Grateful.
Yes. And I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you.
So in my introduction of you, I said that you are an intimacy and empowerment coach. I want you to tell all of those who are watching live or on the replay what that means and what you do, and more importantly, who you are.
Yes, thank you so much. So I'm going to just start off with who I am, and I'm a mother, I'm a lover, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter. I am a woman who has walked through a lot of fire to get to where I am, and I'm grateful. Wasn't always grateful, but I am grateful today for who I have become through all of my experiences. And what I learned through those experiences is the importance. Like it's like importance doesn't even underscore the word enough. Like the
Mhm.
essential need to absolutely love yourself, regardless of anything that has ever happened. And I
Mm.
had to learn how to love myself and accept myself fully for all of my choices, for all of the things that I've ever experienced, for my losses, my setbacks, whatever they were, for all my achievements.
Mhm.
And so what came to me is this understanding of courting myself and falling fully in love with all the parts of myself that I was ashamed to show, that I was afraid of, that might have been, humiliated in certain circumstances, whatever. So I am an intimacy and empowerment coach because I help women and men to fall in love with themselves so
Mhm.
that they can really start to look at themselves in a whole new way, be able to see that they did the best that they could under the circumstances that they had, and to start giving themselves some acknowledgement for where they are, and also to take some ownership. You got to have self responsibility and
Right, right.
ownership for the choices that you've made. You know, when you hurt yourself, you hurt someone else. Being, I mentioned earlier about that ripple effect. We all have an impact on other people's lives. So that is a part of this intimacy. Intimacy
Right.
isn't always so pretty and love and roses, right? And let me take that back. It's not always roses. It's always about love. It
Mhm.
always comes back to love, no matter what. It's always about love. But intimacy is truly about diving in deep, going beneath the facade, going beneath the projections that we, try to show up with in the world to do the very best we can to navigate and to own and love ourselves fully. So
Mhm.
that's
So
that's what my work
let,
is about.
let me jump in there because you said a couple of things that
Yeah.
stood out to me. And the first was about loving yourself, really, regardless of what your experience has
Hmm.
been. Because a lot of times, and women especially,
Yeah.
um, we let things that we have gone through define who we're going to be moving
Mhm.
forward. And
Absolutely.
if those things have been negative,
Hmm.
now we're not confident, we don't have self-esteem, we're
Yeah.
down on ourselves. We don't think that we're beautiful, we don't think that we're smart because of what somebody said or what somebody did to us, or how this experience tried to break us. And oftentimes we fail to, I would say, just kind of like use the word own. So like owning it, your role in it.
Yeah.
And that may have simply been that, you didn't walk away when you had a chance to walk
Right.
away. You didn't
Right.
say no when
Very.
you should have said no.
Yeah. Yeah.
But really acknowledging what it was, but then making the decision to sit that thing down where it
Yes.
happened,
Yes.
and you go on without carrying the burden of that.
Yes. That's the thing. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you said that, to set that thing down. I really love that. I was listening to Deepak Chopra just recently, and it was beautiful. He said, nowhere in nature do you see holding occur,
Mm.
right? And this was really important to me. I was in Costa Rica. I lead retreats internationally, and I was just in Costa Rica in November of 2019, and I was watching some monkeys in the trees. And these monkeys, I watched them for about 30 minutes. And the monkeys would sit there and they would like pick some fruit off the tree and they would eat it. And then when they were done, they just threw it down. They just threw it. But and so I observed this for a while, and then it occurred to me, not one time did the monkey ever look down to see where the thing fell
Mm.
or where it went. It
Mm-hmm.
didn't it didn't hold on to it and look around before it, it was just, it ate, It was done and it released it.
Right.
And we don't know how to do that as humans. We think we need to hold on, like maybe we haven't learned the lesson or we're punishing ourselves, in an unconscious way. And we don't know that. And so we keep that with us and we take it into our relationships. We take it into our relationship with ourselves, into how we see ourselves. And it just, I'm noticing as I'm even speaking about that, there's this great sadness that I feel in my heart for that, because if we learn that it's okay, just set it down, be done with it.
Right.
Don't continue to make a decision about your whole life and all the choices on this. This thing could have really sucked.
Right.
You and I have heard some things that have been terrible. We've both experienced some horrific things that nobody should ever experience. Right. And yet we can't hold on to that because you don't grow.
Right.
You don't grow and you don't heal and you don't love and you don't restore. And that's really what we're here to do, so we can love and restore and be our most brilliant, bright light possible.
Right. There was something good in that I'm gonna come back to.
Come back to it. Yeah. Come back to it.
The other thing you said was, and you kind of cut yourself off. You said intimacy, it's not all about roses. And then you stopped and said, well, it's always about love. Yes, it's always about love, but I actually like the rose thing because roses come with thorns. So intimacy, it's about the roses, but it's the roses with the thorns too.
That just gave me chills right here. Thank you.
Yes.
Really, really beautiful reflection, because you are right. You are right.
And we think even in our personal relationships with other people, and we talk about intimacy, and and a lot of times women are like, your intimacy is more than just sex, right?
Absolutely.
I need this whole emotional connection, and we kind of have that battle going back and forth with men oftentimes. But I think where we fail sometimes as women, as much as we are intimate creatures and beings, that when you are intimate with yourself and with others, there has to be this purity of honesty and disclosure about who you are and what you're about and what your values are. And oftentimes we hold back, and I'm guilty of this myself. We hold back on the pieces of ourselves that we think are not so lovable, and
yes, we do.
That's not so beautiful, the thorny things, and we don't let people see the real us.
Yes,
because someone who loves you, and if you love yourself, you love all of that in its entirety.
All of it. All of it.
It doesn't mean that you still shouldn't try to change the things that aren't benefiting you and helping to push you forward, but you accept the thorns with the rose.
Yes, and then you transmute those things. You transmute them by taking responsibility and taking ownership and seeing yourself lovingly for who you are, with compassion, to see who you are and say, okay, this isn't serving me. Now it's time for me to set this thing down.
Right.
And you got to do the work to do that.
Yeah.
To shift that. Some of those character flaws that maybe we've picked up along the way because we were trying to survive or we were trying to get through the thing.
Right.
And so we've done that. So yeah.
Right. Now the other thing you said, and then we're gonna move on.
I love it. That's good. I appreciate being I appreciate your reflections and being heard. So
yes. You mentioned the word restore.
Yes.
In that process of restoration is something that a lot of people, not just women, don't allow to occur in their lives. We have something taken away, something is broken, and it's like, well, that's just how I am now.
Yeah.
And that's how I have to move through the world, that you don't even open yourself to the possibility of being restored to wholeness.
Right.
And I just think that is so powerful. I think what you're doing is so necessary in the world, and it's going much deeper than that, surface love, kind of romantic kind of thing. And just, be confident, love yourself. it's really deeper
It's much
than that.
deeper.
You're kind of getting at, how do you do that?
Yeah,
How do you love yourself when all of you is
all of
not
that.
necessarily lovable,
Yeah.
right?
I want to speak to that because I think that's really important. For a while, when I started doing this work, interesting enough, I had this little story. Like, I wanted to know, like, like, what, God, why wasn't I called to do some of the fluffy stuff, right?
Right.
Like, some of the like more light stuff, which is also needed because we have to meet people where they are, right?
Right.
But so I had a story for a little while that I said, I scare people. It's scary when we have to look at who we really are and to see who we are. And I realized that that is my gift.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a gift to be able to journey and help people to go down deep into their love for themselves, the love that they forgot that they had for themselves, so that they can learn how to restore and come back to wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a beautiful process. I love, love, love. I love helping to hold a mirror up for others so that they can see really who they are and love themselves, and also be witnessed in love,
Right.
witnessed
Right.
with eyes that can have compassion and love and not have judgment for them, because
Mm-hmm.
that's not always something that we've had in our lives, whether it was
Right.
our caregivers or people we've gone to school with, or people we've worked, whatever it is. We're not always met um, without this love and compassion and lack of and not judgment. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So like when
Mm-hmm.
we're going through that restorative process, it's important to be witnessed in love and without judgment.
Right, right,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who are tuning in, we're here with Veronica Clark. She is an intimacy and empowerment coach. Her nonprofit is Revolution, and
Yes.
her company is Way of the Wild Woman. Now, I want
Mhm.
to remind you, and I know all of y'all know this, that y'all need to be, throwing some hearts and thumbs up and all of that. So
Yeah.
Facebook can give us
Where the
some
heart's
love and
at.
make sure people see this video. We will be checking into the comments in a few minutes. So now let's move to the book a little bit now.
Yes.
So you are writing on Be Yourself, right?
Yes.
All right. So tell us a little bit about what your letter is going to be about and what you want the reader to take away.
The letter is going to be about the importance of being our true authentic self, because our true authentic self is the part of us that's needed in this world. Each of us comes in to this world, this incarnation, with certain gifts that only we can bring. And if we are busy trying to be somebody else, or trying to not be who we really are, then we are not able to share our gift with ourselves or with anyone else. And I believe that that's essential, because we're all needed in order to elevate. We all help each other to elevate. And so when I can bring my true authentic self, and when another can bring their true authentic self, that's when we all grow and truly flourish. It's not because we're all wearing these masks and trying to be somebody, or trying to fit into a particular mold that we think everyone else wants us to be, because there's just nothing but a bunch of confusion. And our lives then are lived in confusion and chaos, and we'll never have the deep inner peace or equanimity that that is our birthright. And so in order to find peace outside of ourselves in this world, we have to find that peace within ourselves. In order to do that, we have to make peace with those parts of ourselves that maybe we're not fully loved, bring them fully into integration, and be authentic, and show up in that authentic, this is who I am, these are all the sides of me, this is who I am. And to recognize that that is what makes us truly beautiful. That is what really shines our radiance.
Right.
It's not the makeup, it's not trying to go out there, it's not the hair, it's not the clothes, it's not speaking in a particular way. It comes from inside. We can never ever tap into that if we're focused on anything external, or focused on trying to please anybody else in any way. Gotta get away from that. When I was growing up. It was massive, massive. I was massively confused. I went through, I don't know how many identity crises. I think I was like, one day I wanted to be like what I say, like a pachuca. Had my hair all stand out, had Aquanet all the time. I wanted to be a gangbanger because I thought I wanted, so I could fit in. I wanted to, dress in hip hop clothes. So I wore really, really big clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Then I wore really, really short clothes. I just couldn't figure out who I was supposed to be, because nobody can tell you who you're supposed to be, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not always made clear. And my caregivers were doing the best that they could do,
Mm-hmm.
with their situation.
Right, right.
So there wasn't anybody to tell me it's okay to just be you. It's okay to just try to figure out exactly who you are.
Mm-hmm.
The beautiful thing is, through that process of trying out these different identities, I ultimately got to come home to myself to find my authentic nature. And
Mm-hmm.
it's holding myself back or not truly sharing who I really am. And it's always a curiosity, and I do it with great love for myself. So that is really what my letter is going to be about, is, have some grace and compassion for where you are also, that you've been doing your best, and keep going,
Right.
because who you really are is needed on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
It's much bigger than just getting through our lives,
Right.
graduating school, and moving on to college again.
Mm-hmm.
So much
Mm-hmm.
bigger than that.
Yes.
And sometimes that's a lot to hold. So
Mm-hmm.
we start where we are and just begin to love those tiny pieces of us.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah, and I like what you said about, having grace and compassion for yourself for where you are, and being able to hold on to that when other people are not giving you the grace and compassion for where
yes.
you are. Because what
Yes.
I've found is that when you begin to show up authentically, you disrupt other people's peace.
Ooh, I got chills again. That's the
Without a
truth.
doubt, you disrupt other
That's
people's
the
peace,
truth.
because you are no longer fitting into the box and the expectations that they have for you.
Yeah. Yep.
And we tend to take that on ourselves. It's not our burden to take on in any way, shape, or form. If somebody has an issue with you, it is their issue.
Yes. Yep.
As long as you are okay with yourself. But I do want to add a disclaimer onto that, because sometimes people take that to the extreme, and it's just, they kind of get this attitude, like, well, I am who I am. I'm just being real.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
well, that doesn't give you the license to be rude and disrespectful and ignorant. There's a difference there, right?
Yeah. There's a
But
difference.
when you are showing up in the most powerful version of yourself, which is who you are authentically, you and your honesty and your integrity, focused on what your goals are, what your mission is, your vision is, your values, and kind of living that out in every area of your life. People who are not doing that themselves, because it's a hard thing to do, or because they don't know how to do it, those are the people who are probably going to come at you the most, because you're kind of holding a mirror up to them.
Yeah.
And now they are seeing where they are missing it.
Yes.
And more than likely, they're going to take that out on you, rather than being self-reflective.
They're
Kind of getting their
projections.
stuff together. But you have to remember that it's not your issue.
No.
And you should not change who you are because other people are uncomfortable with who you are.
Yeah. You made two really important points. I just want to speak to those really quick. For one, I want to just mention, you talked about, the disclaimer part, and it's not okay to be rude and, and disrespectful to people. And it's not. One thing that I'll say, if somebody is in that, holding that, like, well, this is just who I am and this is how I communicate. And if you're receiving reflections that you're, rude or disrespectful, and, I would really encourage anyone to look to see where they are not showing themselves compassion. Because when you are not able to show yourself compassion, then it comes out as rude and disrespectful because you are not then able to hold any compassion for others.
Right.
So it's just one of those things, and it has to be something that one learns themselves and really feels into and makes a commitment to, this goes back to that intimacy and loving themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you made another point and I missed it because I just got on this. That's okay.
Was it about disrupting other people's peace when you show up?
It was actually, it was about the so, we hear a lot about the words right now. You hear a lot of, oh, I got triggered. This person triggered me. This person triggered me. Right. So we get that. And then that's what happens when, and then we get the projections.
Right.
So I lead a training. It's called Body Temple, and it's Body Temple for women. And it's a really deep intimacy course for coming back and experiencing sensuality, experiencing life through all of the senses.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, I'm oftentimes like, I'm triggering women. That's what I'm triggering, they're triggered. Yeah. And it's beautiful because I can hold that, and I hold it with great reverence because I say it's perfect. I'm actually happy to trigger because I know that I'm holding it from a place of love and compassion. And so I can hold the mirror, even if somebody is like, it's hard for me to see this. It's hard for me to see what you are demonstrating right now. It's hard for me. But then I can have a conversation with them and help guide them through that so that they can start their own healing work and being able to release, So my point is that when you are in, let's say, a leadership role, such as yourself, myself, when we're facilitating, when we are stepping into our authentic voice and doing our work in the world, it's important also to not back down because you feel like, oh, you're getting a lot of projections and people are saying you're triggering or anything like that, because that can, if we allow that to happen, which happened to me for a little while, I was like, I'm scaring people, I'm too scary, then it makes me want to dim my light. And that is not how we serve the world.
Right.
We have to stay strong, and we have to remember, as long as we're coming from a place of truth and love and this compassion, we are doing, we're coming from a place of heart, and that's essential. That's important.
Yes.
Remember that.
Yes. Good. This is awesome conversation. Let me just take a quick look at the comments. Hey, Michelle. Dawn is with us. Hi, Angie, of course, she says you're so beautiful and powerful.
Thank you.
Bernita is watching. Delana and Delano. Thank you. Yeah, Angie says she's always disrupting someone's peace.
Disrupt. We need more disruption. So
yes. And when you know your heart is in the right place, you become okay when others are triggered and upset with the mirror in their face.
Yes.
And the reality is that oftentimes, if you're not triggered, there's no movement. You will never move or change if something doesn't trigger you.
Exactly. It's a gift.
Right.
It's a gift. It's like, oh, shoot, there's more work for me to do.
Right.
Great.
Right. And then recognizing that even in the difficulty of doing that work, that on the other side of that is a better, more powerful you.
Yes.
But we don't want to be uncomfortable.
I know.
We do the hard work. Even though the situation we're in is uncomfortable, we know it. We know that uncomfortableness. And so we're comfortable in it. But oh no, now you're asking me to go to another level of discomfort. I'm good.
This is why I love yoga so much. Because you get into some uncomfortable yoga positions, let's say like pigeon or something that opens the hips or something like that, where we store a lot of trauma and we store a lot of emotions that we can't carry in the heartbreak that we can't carry because it's too much for us to look at. We shove it down, we push it down into the hips, right? We push it down. And that's why I love hold those uncomfortable positions because it's like you want to push your teeth together. You want to grit. You want to make these face, tighten your fists. And when we learn how to hold a position like pigeon or the splits, and it's so uncomfortable, and you want to run and you want it to
Mhm.
end. But what you're doing is learning how to hold more space and increase your aptitude for discomfort,
Mhm.
because that's what's needed. When you
Right.
don't run from it, when you can stay, when you know it's uncomfortable, you
Mhm.
know that the conversation is uncomfortable, you know that the reflection that you're
Mhm.
seeing about yourself, you say, damn, it's really hard for me to look myself in the mirror right now because I'm not, I feel maybe some shame or some embarrassment
Right.
for how
Right.
I showed up. But we got to stay there. You got to stay in that so
Mhm.
you can build that aptitude, build the tolerance a little bit more, and keep coming back to self-compassion. So that's another
Mhm.
thing with, this, with intimacy, is like get into the body, be somatically aware of where you're holding, get into the body as a way to be able to shift and release emotions that are
Mhm.
stuck and trapped inside of your body.
Right.
If we can't do that, if we can't stay with our physical discomfort, we cannot stay with, this emotional discomfort for long either,
Right. Right.
you know? And then that means that, we're not going to be showing up.
Right.
We're not going to be showing up as much as we can.
I like
So
the yoga example because I'm intimately familiar with the pigeon pose. And,
yes.
and I can tell you the
Right.
first time I did it, like I couldn't even really get into the
Yeah.
pigeon pose, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing, I stayed in it for however long that flow was,
Yeah.
that. And then the next time I had to do it again and I had to do it again.
Yeah.
And now I can just get into pigeon pose,
Great.
right?
You built
And
that
here's the
aptitude.
thing, I didn't just sit through the discomfort the one time.
Yes.
I kept going back and
Yes.
going back and
You didn't
going
avoid
back.
it.
And now
Yes.
there's no longer any discomfort
Yes.
in that situation.
Yeah. I got chills again. Yeah. I love that. I'm so glad. One little piece I want to add to that too is you went back to it, and it sounds like you didn't just go through the motions of just sitting there and just being in that, and like, because there's a way that you have to be present with yourself. You
Mhm.
can't just go through the motions. It's like nobody knows really what's going on inside of you, right? Like you can put the face on, you could be there in the pose, but
Mhm.
inside you're like on fire.
Fighting it,
Inside, you
right?
gotta get out. Inside, you're like, when is she gonna say move now? When is
Right.
this gonna be over?
Mhm.
And it's like, don't do that.
Mhm.
Soften,
Right.
soften. You can't just get through it like with, mm, even
Mhm.
if your fists aren't like this, but the inside of you is like that. You gotta soften, soften, soften. That's
Right.
how we come back to being able to love ourselves
Mhm.
fully
Mhm.
and be uncomfortable and learn how to have that tolerance for it. So,
Right. Right.
yeah.
Yes, yes. See, I told y'all this conversation was going to be good.
That's good. That's good
Yes,
stuff.
yes. So Dawn says working outside of the comfort zone is so
Yes.
needed. Absolutely, absolutely. Most of the women, if not all of the women in my circle, they are big dreamers. They have huge visions. There's just a lot that they want to accomplish. And while we have this kind of inner knowing that everything we need is already inside of us,
Yes.
there's still, this practicality of, well, I don't have this specific experience, or I don't have this connection, though that something is missing or lacking.
Yeah.
But the only way we get from where we are to
Hmm.
where it is we see ourselves is on this journey that is full of the unknown
Yes.
and discomfort.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the
It's so
only way
true.
that vision manifests itself is through your willing to like kind of go through the jungle and the forest. You
Yes.
don't know what's in front of you. You don't know what you're going to run into, what's going to jump out and scare you, but you go anyway.
You go anyways
Go
with some curiosity,
yes.
right? Some curiosity. I
Yes.
know. I
Yes.
love that you mentioned that. Those are some really important pieces that I speak about. I'm going to be in Ventura, California, speaking at a Radiant You event. And I always talk about that. It's like you got to decide who you want to be. Make up your mind. Decide who you're going to be. After all the things, all the stories, letting all that go, you got to develop a tolerance for the unknown and
Mm-hmm.
recognize that there is a wisdom in that unknown, and that you're actually in the unknown is this field of infinite possibilities.
Right.
Because the known is limiting, right? Like, because you know it and you're going to walk that path and this is the path I'm going to go and it's comfortable and familiar. And then you just, once you have that, then you just don't ever give up.
Right.
You don't give up. Even if you make some shifts and some modifications, you don't give up. You don't give up on who you are. You don't give up on expressing your authentic self in this world because you know that you're needed.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe you need to get more tools, or you got to get out of your comfort zone and make the connections that you need so that you can get to the next place. You got to ask for help, which I know is super uncomfortable for so many independent women and men as well, because it seems like it's like a vulnerability and it exposes something or it says something about them because they need help, you know? So we've got to be able to do that because we need each other.
Right.
Connection is so important. It all comes back to exactly what we're doing with this book anthology.
Yes.
We need each other. We need the connections so that maybe someone else doesn't have to go through the same things or they don't have to repeat the same steps and so forth. They can bypass some of those things.
Yes. Yes. So that was an excellent way, to segue into, now coming back to the book.
Yes.
And the love letters to my girls, 100 Black women speak to the hearts of Black women and girls. I mean, what this is about is helping other sisters on their journey.
Yes.
And sharing from your experience, not your story, because it literally is a letter, it's a love letter, but sharing from your experience, wisdom that can help someone maybe minimize the time that they have to be in that period of discomfort because they have to learn a lesson from scratch.
Yes. Right? Gosh, where was this book when I needed it?
Yes. They can take what you learn and apply that to their lives. And, words that inspire and empower them, that push them to keep going on the journey through the discomfort, that will help women to love themselves, to own their story, as you said, and love themselves in spite of it, and learn how to rewrite the story. So if you don't like the story that's been written, let's rewrite that.
Let's do it.
You want it to be.
Yes.
So that is what Love Letters to My Girls is all about. And we want to get this book into the hands of as many Black women and girls as we can around the world. So we're going to need your support to make that happen.
We need your support.
So again, I want you to visit loveletterstomygirls.com and sign up to join our newsletter so we can keep you up to date with the project and the launch of the book and the various ways that you'll be able to support us in getting this book into the hands of women and girls, and support us in funding the scholarship for women and girls. And the scholarship winners will be able to use that money for either education, training, or business startup. We've got a lot of good stuff going on with this project, and we need your help to make it happen. So again, I want to thank all of you who have tuned in today for this interview with Veronica Clark, intimacy and empowerment coach, and one of the phenomenal women authors in Love Letters to My Girls, 100 Black Women Speak to the Hearts of Black Women and Girls. So Veronica, I'm going to ask you to just share some encouraging words before we close out.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep your light shining always. Even when it's bleak or it's challenging, it's difficult, we're not sure what the direction is, keep going and keep your heart open. That's so important because we are really guided by our heart. Sometimes we want to get the direction from our mind, but our mind doesn't know all the answers. Our heart knows the answers. So stay connected to your heart. So you stay in love and you keep your light shining.
Good stuff. So as always, I want to end by thanking you again for joining us. Thank you, Veronica, for joining us, and reminding you that your words have power. They have the power to inspire, to uplift, to motivate, and empower. So go ignite the power in your words. Thank you. Blessings to you.
Thank you.